Because no, I was about to say, even then it was just focused on your body. Now you even leveled up, but where you were like facial characters. So I remember us having to document with the phone in front of you.
Yeah.
And that I spent a day with her with the motion capturing. And just like she's just doing the weirdest shit. Like she's jumping from a little chair like onto like a mattress. But it's gonna look good.
With a pillow.
With the pillow wrapped around her waist so that we get the size of a pregnant woman. It's just so. And do you feel like you've leveled up? Do you feel like you are ready for this institutional show that you're about to have? Because I guess also this is genuinely an artist when they get to have this point of experimenting. It's generally not with an institution. It would generally be shown first with a gallery, and then a gallery would take it on, or other people of that industry would start acknowledging the work for an institution to immediately recognize it.
Yeah.
So was this also a part of your fellowship with Smithsonian to level up like this, or was it something that you knew in your heart that this opportunity would be the time to do it? Because also I would want the public to not forget that we are 5 years in the making.
Yeah, we are 5 years in the making. I've never been pregnant this long. I've never been pregnant at all. But it's a funny thing. I joke, but I'm also not joking. Like it's like I haven't worked on I used to turn over bodies of work every 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Archival Impulse, Poverty, Pornography, Intimate Justice, Dear Sarah, To Kill or Allowed to Live. Like I leapfrog. Like most of these projects were happening every other year because the gallery that I worked with initially did not force me, but had me on a schedule of pretty much I would have a solo show every other year. And so I'm used to this gestation period being not more than a year or so. And so the Smithsonian, Karen said to me, she nominated me to become a fellow. And for anyone, artists listening, because we are going to talk to our younger selves shortly, I think.
That's the next question.
The Smithsonian Artist Research Fellowship is an incredible opportunity for an artist, young or old, anywhere in the career, because it's a chance to kind of go into the archives. The Smithsonian is an institution of there's 21 institutions. There's a zoo, there's aerospace, there's natural history, there's so many different and you get the opportunity to dig into the archives of at least two. So I chose to work, I was based at the Smithsonian Museum of African Art, but under the guise of Karen Milbourne, my curator, and also my research advisor. And then I worked with Diana Ndiaye at the Museum of Folklore and Culture. And then Michelle Wilkinson, who was at the Blacksonian, the National Museum of African American History and Culture. So I had access to all three sets of archives to build this. And it is not usual that a fellow turns around and has a solo exhibition at the museum. That's not really what you're signing up for. But I can say from my experience, Karen said, should you choose to do something with us, with this research, please let us know. Because we would be interested in seeing how you develop this research further. And it just so happened that I was like, say word. Tell me
say
less. So then I had previously been invited by the Angola Air Artist in Residency program in Angola, Luanda. Dominic had been asking me to come and do a residency in Luanda. And then I also had collectors that were living in, they're from Martinique, a couple from Martinique that live in Paris who have a home in Saint Louis, Senegal, which is the former capital. Before Dakar became the capital, it was there. Anyways, so I was like, okay, so I've got these two opportunities, two coastal cities, let's go. So I went and I did my open water diving certification in Senegal. And then I kept going, and then that's the rest of the story. But what was the question? So
The leveling up.
the leveling up was largely due to the confidence and the faith of Karen Milburn. She and I met, I think I met her initially at Marianne Ibrahim, my current gallerist, had a ladies' lunch in New York around the time that she did the Armory show.
Okay.
And I happened to be seated next to Karen, who I had vaguely met in other places.
Social circles.
And I was just asking her, so who gets to be African? Like, how does... Like, you have Yinka Shonabare's kite in the front.
Sculpture.
But he's UBE or whatever, so he's British, and he identifies as British, so is he African?
Right.
So, like, where does the diaspora start and stop?
And begin and end.
Yeah, so we had a really beautiful and thoughtful conversation around that. And, of course, the answer was, it's the artist decides who they want to be. And so I identify as an African descendant. I identify as Black. I am Black American. I'm culturally American, but I am of the African descent and diaspora. And then she's like, also say less.
I got you. I got you.
But she, you know what I'm saying? But she chose, what she did say, this is for another day, but what she did say was that the reason she felt that this was a project that she could bring to the Museum of African Art was because the characters are not yet American. They're still African, even if they're at the bottom of the Atlantic. They never made it to America.
Yes.
So it does reside in the wheelhouse of the Museum of African Art. And yes, leveling up was leveling up. It was like, toys, play,
Resources.
Resources. I was like, wait, do we have resources? I mean, they were limited, but they were big enough. That I was able to bring. Yeah, I mean, there's so many collaborators in this project, and South Africans alone. There's like 10 of you guys.